Hello, the purpose of this video is to introduce Autodesk Inventor. Autodesk Inventor is the CAD program that we're going to be using for the rest of the year, or the rest of the semester. So point is behind telling you that is it's not going to go away. So you have to learn this. Today, this video is just some basics. I'm going to show you how to open the program, how to use the program, what the program is capable of doing, and just basically a quick introduction. So somewhere on your desktop, you won't have all this stuff because this is my desktop and it's very cluttered, I know. Somewhere on the desktop you'll have an icon that looks like this. And it says Autodesk Inventor Professional 2020. For some reason you don't, you can come down here to the Start menu and under Autodesk 2020, expand, and you'll see Autodesk 2020 there. Don't be surprised if it takes quite a while to load. I've already had this one loaded, so it did not take the 2 minutes that it normally takes. I want to show you here the toolbars. I want to talk about the file types. So all drawings start with a part file. A part file is right here. This is how we create it. In order to assemble, we have to draw parts. And in order to make a drawing, we have to have parts to draw. And the presentation is an animation of basically an exploded view of those parts. So we're going to start with a part. This is going to load here. The first thing you notice is the toolbars across the top. Just like we read from left to right, we're going to use this program from left to right. The first thing we have to do to create the drawing is to create a 2D sketch. Whenever you click that button, what you end up with is these axes appear. At this point, we can work on any axis. It doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to pick one. You notice that the toolbars changed up here as I click that create the sketch. We got lines, circles, arcs, fillets, text. We're going to start out with the most basic shape. We're just going to draw a rectangle. I'll come out here. See the highlighted there where it says 0.525. I can type using the keypad in that box, and I'm going to say 2.5. Now I'm going to toggle between those two boxes by hitting the tab key, and I'm going to say by 3. So really what we have now, and I'm using the scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out. I'm clicking and holding that scroll wheel to move it around like this. So zoom in, zoom out, click to drag around the screen, and the dimensions are displayed here. All right, so yeah, once we get that drawn here, you see the dimensions there. Those are the dimensions we typed in using the keyboard. The next step is to finish the sketch. So over here in this window, we have this little box. We can hit our home button. So now what we have is we have a rectangle that's living in a virtual environment. We can spin it around, but because it is just a rectangle, I'm looking at the very edge of it. So a rectangle only has lines. It does not have depth. It has height, which is 3 inches, and width, which is 2.5 inches. But what it doesn't have is depth. What we're going to give it now is, in fact, its depth. So come up here. Notice these buttons change back now. Whenever we hit Finish Sketch, we're going to click Extrude. And what Extrude does is it allows us to take that the profile that we just drew, the silhouette, if you will, that we just drew, and turn it into a 3D object. So what this does is that we can go the directions. We can extrude it back. We can extrude it forward. We can extrude it some one direction and some the other, the same. Or we can do what's called asymmetric extrusion. For our purposes, we're just going to pick this one, and we're just going to let the default 1 inch. So now what we have is basically a 1 inch bar of soap of sorts. We're going to do one more thing to this before we go. We're going to come up here. We're going to use a fillet tool. Click our fillet tool here. And what this does is it just rounds surfaces. And we're just going to click. We're not going to change that. We can make that fillet like so it's more round or less round. We're going to come here and we're going to fillet all of our edges. So we're going to take this. We're going to spin this in this virtual environment. We're going to continue clicking until we have all of our surfaces clicked. I think I got these last two down here. So now, whenever you're in here, you might get a little disoriented, forget where you are. If you forget where you are, just click that home button that spins us back around. We'll click OK to confirm. And now we're ready to do our final step to it. We're going to start a 2D sketch. And now instead of those axes popping up, they're still there. They just don't pop up. And now we're going to draw right on the surface of this. Move, just press and hold my scroll wheel. Now what I want to do is I want to put a circle centered in that. So how do I do that? So I'm going to, on my 2D sketch, grab my line tool. I want to come across here, and you see how that dot turns green at a particular spot. It turns green because that's the center. We're just going to come down here, center to center. Grab our line tool again. Find that green dot. Come straight across. Make sure that that says where in the bottom right there where it says DEG 0.00. That one's got to be 0, and this one should be 90. So now we are ready to. So right now I still have my line tool, so I just press the escape key on the keyboard. That drops it. So these are just guidelines. We're not going to let them there. So we're going to grab our circle. We're going to say 0.75. We're typing that right into the keyboard. Now I'm going to hit my escape tool because I still have my circle tool. Now I'm ready to click, press the delete, click, press the delete. So I've just deleted those guidelines that I placed in earlier. So now we're going to finish our sketch. We're going to do one more thing here. We're going to extrude. This time we're going to use, we talked about these tools up here, and I can do that. I can extrude the opposite direction, and it will cut away that circle. But a better way of doing that is to just say through all. So that just automatically, it says 1 inch. I'll click next. Now we basically have this object. It's kind of like a bar of soap with a hole in the middle. This is what we're going to hand in. This exact profile is what I want you to create and hand in. So we're going to come up here, we're going to say File, we're going to go to Export to a PDF file, or we're going to call this CAD Practice. And we're going to click Save. And that is what I want you to upload into Google Classroom. Questions, comments, concerns? I will be happy to walk you through.